Excuse me. Not sure why the countdown says 15, but oh well, we're here. We're here. We're live at Hawks. Let's talk some Explorers baseball. Dan Vaughn with you. Happy Monday. Let me turn the volume down here because there we go. A little better. Turn my volume down. Glad you guys are along. Monday. A lot of little things to get to. It's sort of like you walk in. It's almost like we've been on vacation, but we're in the middle of the holiday, right? It's really weird. I bring this down too, because we are again live at Hawks here in Sergeant Bluff. On my way in, I just make the stop here and just have me in this case there we go. Have me a little muffin here and a coffee. Pretty good, folks. Anyway, what was I? Mouthful. I have a thing called no eating on the air, but apparently I eat on the air way too much with you guys. Got my coffee here, though. As you can very well see. There we go. Yep, there we go. Okay. You ever go on holiday vacation and you come back and you don't know where to start? That's sort of like what we got going on today, because we didn't really go on vacation or holiday. I wouldn't call Lincoln's weekend a holiday. That was more of a travel nightmare, not so much travel-wise, but it was, if it would go wrong, it went wrong this weekend for the ball club. So you throw that out there. You just had that. You come home. You're excited because you're coming home. You got great crowds coming in. You got 2 back-to-back firework nights, really big nights of our year, maybe our biggest two. You got those coming up. And then you've got, you throw in there the way the team played, not real good. But then you also know today a lot of news is coming out because you've got all-star announcements this afternoon on Facebook Live for the association. And I would just be crazy if I didn't tell you that I believe there'll be a couple of Explorers on there. I would think there should be. I mean, the usual suspects, but you got to figure, Solomon Bates is probably there. You got to figure that probably, I would think of Matt Lloyd's in that list. And there'll be others. But I mean, you look at that right now and you go, okay, that's possible. And then, you've got your normal game preparation for Winnipeg, and Winnipeg's coming. You haven't seen them yet. You're seeing a whole new ball club. Your team's trying to rebound, and you got the normal days, odds and ends. And then whatever comes extra, this afternoon, for example, we might find out that there may be a disabled list move or two because of the injuries yesterday. And then you throw in the fact that we're waiting around to find out who might be named Offensive Player of the Week, because you got a couple of guys, at least one, I think, that's got a real good chance of being named that in a couple of hours. So this is all it's all stacked up right here. And, for a team that struggled over the weekend, there's a lot going on. And I think it's what I go back to when I talk about this thing on record-wise. But I think there's enough going on behind the scenes and enough things you're seeing. If you watch this club every day, watch what's going on every day, I think you realize that this thing's real close. It's not, there are some teams in our division, in our league, who are 3 steps forward and 9 steps back. This club's more like 3 steps forward and 3 steps back. It's very back and forth. And I think you see that this club's close to going 6 forward and 1 back. I think that's what you see. It doesn't feel that way. I think this weekend was a blah. I mean, that yesterday was terrible. That was a bad game. No fans or buts about it. Bad. Everything about it was bad. The whole weekend was bad. You get right down to it. But again, it's just one of those weird deals that let me bring this down too here and bring us back into here to me here. But so that's kind of how I feel. We got a lot of stuff on the plate today. So let me go through what the headlines of the day are, because I think that's important first. Okay. First off, I did talk to Steve Montgomery this morning very briefly. We had a chat last night as well. We got back from Lincoln. A beautiful thing about being in Sioux City is that you got Lincoln and Kansas City, Sioux Falls and Fargo, all real close trips, and they're not some of these teams that have to get back home on a day. Even a day game in Chicagoland gets you back at about midnight, right? There's some places, Kansas City's for one, day game gets you back about 2. But even here, you play a day game in Fargo, you're back here by 10 o'clock. It's not a bad stretch. You're not totally shot on Sunday, getting back overnight. Anyway, getting back, we chatted a little bit last night. First off, the initial diagnosis for Mitchell Verberg. Let me give you that piece. Mitchell pitched yesterday, got knocked around a little bit early, gave the home run up. I think he settled in after that. And I'm not blaming the injury on the umpire calls or lack thereof, but facing Will Kinger in that fifth inning, Will Kinger thought he was out once and twice. He thought he got fooled twice. And each time the ball was called a ball, in a walk, and then a double behind it, because suddenly you're going, okay, well, if I can't get that part of the plate and I can't just hang it out over the plate, they know this. They went on attack, and they knew that fastball. If he's going to throw a fastball in the count to get a strike, it wasn't going to be here, right? It probably wasn't going to be here. The umpire can take the whole creativity of the pitcher out of the game. It's a guessing game, right? I mean, you're going to get a fastball at some point in the count, right? You know this. When is it? Where is it? And what's the situation? Well, if you can eliminate a third of the plate and you leave that just opens you up for a lot more options. That's what happened. Wheels came off. The diagnosis, I talked to Mitchell after the ball game. His words to me, it felt like something. It was definitely, I mentioned arm. I thought it was his hand at first because Bruce Fishback was looking at his hand. But a lot of times what trainers will do, and Bruce was up to ask him a little bit about this, a lot of times when a guy has an issue with his hand or his elbow or his shoulder, one of the first things they do is touch the nerves to see what kind of sensations are down here. And it is an upper arm issue. I don't know shoulder, anything more than that, but I know it's upper. He was not sure what it was himself. He was going to the doctor today. Bruce will be at the ballpark probably now. He's probably been there for a while. I know that Steve Montgomery was waiting to get in to see what the situation is. It's a crucial loss. Mitchell is by far, I think, along with Solomon Bates, the top two pitchers in this league are working in a rotation. They've proven that all year. There's been some other good guys out there, but as far as numbers on a consistent basis and what they offer this team, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Yes, 5-4 the record for Solomon, but he throws strikes. Mitchell throws strikes. And they're not going to walk anybody. I mean, they had that stretch of games in Kansas City and Fargo where along with Trenton Toplikar goes tonight, they walked one batter in 3 starts. They don't walk batters. They throw strikes. And we've talked about it so many times, how walks just compound problems. Yesterday, Carlos Diaz got himself in trouble because of walks. He falls behind, loads the bases, and then boom, here comes a grand slam. Although he gets a strikeout, he's still going to get a third out. Because you've thrown all these pitches, your margin for error is real slim now that you load the bases. Boom, home run. Any hopes of coming back, which at the time was 6-0 and 6-1, go to 10-1, K-bar the door. But I think you see the importance of Verberg. So I will not lie to you. This is a crucial loss. I don't know what else to say. Will the team rebound? Absolutely. Could there be an arm out there? Absolutely. You do not replace Mitchell Verberg. They don't grow on trees. There's not a pitching tree we walk up to and say, well, take one of these and replace him in the card. That's not the way it goes. And I know Steve Montgomery, I can just tell you and get to know this guy and watching what he's doing and what Bobby and them are doing. They're on the phones because they're concerned because they got to get arms. Because suddenly you went from a situation where you were looking at Thursday to have Weatherby back and you'd have all your 5 starters back to now going to only having 3 starters because yesterday Weatherby goes down. He comes in for Verberg, and that when Verberg comes out injury-wise, it looked to be, and I didn't talk to Jared, I didn't talk to him, so I can't confirm this, but what I understand, just talking with Bruce and talking to the guys on the way back last night, it is that same ham thing he had 2 weeks ago. Not as probably as crucial, but as a pitcher, it's one of those things you got to have. You got to have your lower legs. If you don't have your lower legs, you're using your upper body, and there's a lot of stress there. It needs rest, and it's not. And you rush back too soon. And Mitchell can tell you this: he rushed back too soon for a very similar type deal, and it cost him cost him a start or two. But again, thoughts and prayers for those two. I don't know if you could really write a worse script for what happened. I mean, the losses are one thing, but then you lost two pitchers in the span of. And the crazy thing about it was, same ballpark, same place you lost Weatherby 2 weeks prior, almost the same. It was same inning, or yeah, it was fifth inning. So that's the first piece of news. So look for something there. I don't know what's going to happen, but I would imagine you're going to have to kind of strap together. Although, and I'll throw this out there to you, and I'll ask Steve this tonight at the pregame show on the radio. I would think that perhaps maybe our thought now is, okay, we've got Tokar, who's pitched 4 innings, was shut out. He had no hit ball, and they scrapped a run together with no hits. Walks, but still it was very good. Peguero, who pitched pretty good as a starter. Are those two options going forward into July? And then possibly trying to find the bullpen pieces now. I throw it out there. I have no idea what Steve's thinking, but it's a question I will ask tonight on the pregame show. I think it's how do you go about, or and my guess is the answer is going to be, because Steve, this is what Steve Montgomery's done. I've watched him do this over the years. He gets arms. I mean, I can tell you, I've sat in Gary, I've sat in Kansas City, I sat there and watched the transaction sheet going, holy smokes, look at this guy. I'd heard of him, but I look at the numbers and going, oh my gosh. I mean, I can go back to the laundry. I can go back to Nate Gherkin when he came in. The late Matt Pobrico. Guys like that you'd see going. I never heard of him, but I'm going like, holy smokes, these guys can throw. I've never heard of the College of Arts in California, but I looked at Gherkin's numbers and I'm like, another good one. Ron Flores, those kind of players that he dug out of nowhere. Ryan was a community college guy down in Texas, in a community college that 5 minutes from my home that I didn't know have a baseball team. I didn't even know they had one. So, he does his work. So that's going to come. So my question maybe it's more, and maybe I answer my own question here, that maybe it's not starter versus rotation beats, it's just pitcher. Get arm and worry about where they go later. And maybe that's the way they go. So I was impressed with Tokar this weekend. I thought he was good. I don't know if that fits his mindset better. He's a really nice young man. Culturally, coming from Brazil, this has got to be a real challenge for him, because he comes from a country that soccer's dominant, baseball's not. And he's probably, he's suddenly thrust into a baseball mad country. It's probably been a real shock for him over the last few years. He seems to handle it well. He's a real pro. He seems to be real unflappable, and it seems to be very likable. And maybe his personality fits the rotation. I throw this out there. By the way, I wonder what you guys think too. A couple of people out there. Casey says tough arm to lose. Yeah, Casey, you are right on, mate. You are right on. Let me get the chat up here too. No doubt a tough arm to lose. Any arm's tough to lose, but the span of, and I sat in that break yesterday, and I'm watching Steve Montgomery as he's down there at third base after whether he leaves the field. And Steve's down kind of in a catcher stance, and we get a couple questions coming up, and I'll get those. Here we go. We got some folks popping in. Speaking of All-Star Game, what would it take to get the All-Star Game here in Sioux City? Let me put that on the screen, let it hold for a moment, because I want to get to that in a second. Yeah, thank you very much, Casey. Appreciate you, mate. Appreciate you so much, my friend. Good to see you. By the way, happy 4th to you too, mate. Let me get this here. But I go to break and I look, and Mongo's down like in a catcher stance at third, hands kind of in head here. I don't know what he could do. The word snake bits come to mind, bad luck, but again, you're going to probably get your cover's not completely bare. You've done some things. Now, granted, I thought the Lincoln series was dreadful. That was probably the worst series of the year. Call it what it was. It was bad. It was not good. Another hard luck loss. Another stinker. We hadn't have any stinkers either, have you? And when you got dominated. And one of those arms is a big league arm. 2 of them were guys. but they're guys that threw strikes and they're guys that you couldn't touch. It happens like that. So I kind of think playing Winnipeg, and not because we're playing Winnipeg, I think having a new opponent, someone new, a fresh approach, I think will do you good. I think it did this club good after leaving Lincoln last time going to Kansas City. You'd played a team already twice. You'd played Kansas City way back in the opener. It was kind of a new Kansas City look, and I think it was a kind of a re-challenge. I think that's the story here, because this team's got to get going in July. You could not go 11-15 in the month of July like you did in June, or you're going to be in some real trouble. I mean, you're going to be fighting tooth and nail between three teams to just try to get that fourth spot, and all it takes is one of those three teams to get hot, and you're not going to get it. And there are years gone by when you'd really be in trouble right now, but you're not, because 4 teams make it. But anyway, All-Star game. Ron says, what would it take to the All-Star game in Sioux City? The thing is, I think it's going to have to be something the city would want to be involved in too, and the region. And the reason I bring this up, in Milwaukee's case, Ron, the sponsor of, or the naming rights of the All-Star Game Milwaukee is Visit Milwaukee. It's the Visit Milwaukee American Association All-Star Game. I believe that's the mouthful. Now, Visit Milwaukee is a tourist deal that every city's got. We've got one. Every town, large and small, has got someone that's got a desk that's sort of providing some kind of tourism, right? It doesn't matter if it's Seminole, Texas, or New York City. They're there, right? That would be number one. I would think number two would be probably a corporate sponsor of some sort. Not so much for Milwaukee, but for us, being that we are a smaller market, we need someone, a local company that really wants to be involved and turn into a marquee event. And perhaps it's one of those things where they wind up buying a third of the tickets for their employees, turn into a huge thank you to their employees. That'd be number two. And number three, and I want to say this I'm going to say it because I think it's important. As a member of the ball club, this is not complaining, but I think you got to understand the league also is going to want to have a facility that is got some improvements. That'll be brand new, okay? Not saying that. I believe Gary, Indiana would be a great place for an all-star game. It's a great ballpark, and it's built in 2002. There are probably some things they want to do to it, because what happens is you have a situation where Milwaukee's got a brand new ballpark. Oh, thank you very much. Rockstar Molly right there. Appreciate it. Sorry, man. Molly, I waved at Molly yesterday at the game. There was a bunch of X's fans, and I'm waving like I'm waving at the royalty. I'm waving like I'm from the balcony. I don't have my tiara or my crown on, but I'm waving. And this kid in front of me looks at me and kind of like sheepishly goes, and I'm waving. And some other kid down there looks kind of looking around. He goes, like, who's this random dude waving? Like, am I supposed to wave back? Is this part of the kid's like, look at the scoreboard going, am I on the video board? Like, is this a video bit? No. Anyway, I was just waving. Good to see you, Molly. Appreciate you too. Yes, it was good times yesterday. But Rick, back to your question of the All-Star game. I mean, let's be honest. Milwaukee's a brand new ballpark built in 2000 and opened in 2019. It wasn't ready for the 19 season. They actually opened it up during the middle of the year. I've been there. Is it better than Sioux City? No. Is our clubhouse better? Yeah. Is our broadcast booth better? They have a booth, but the view's better in our park. We have a window that opens. They don't have one. I mean, I'm going through some things that, for me as a broadcaster, do I go there and go, man, it's the best part of the league? No. It's not the worst part. It's good. It's nice. If you're a fan, you're going to love that place. It's got a development around it. It's got the Top Golf. It's got the pubs. It's got a coffee shop, all this stuff around it, playing field, ski resort or ski run, bar out in the outfield. I mean, they got some things around there, right? It's an entertainment destination, that location in Milwaukee, although a lot of you wouldn't know about, let's be honest, their attendance isn't that great. You can check their attendance out. It's not great, but it's a newer ballpark. So the league's going to want a ballpark that's newer with the bells and whistles to entertain their corporate people, their people, MLB connections, all those things, scouts, whatever, families, all that, put on special events. promoting sponsors and all that. You're going to want that. And then from a Sioux City standpoint, I think the city would support it, but I think you've got to have definite guarantee of a corporate sponsor and the city being behind you in some kind of sponsorship way. I'll give you one more thing, and I'll be honest with you. I've done this long enough that I can tell you that if you're in a front office, it doesn't matter what front office you're in this league, when that memo comes out that you're going to host the All-Star game, you ain't doing this. It's cool, right? The All-Star game's cool. But for folks that work in this business, Molly who works in this business, myself, I'll use a broadcaster I chatted with about in the last couple of weeks who told me, I just can't go to the All-Star game when I get you because I'm working every day of the week and doing all these notes. So I just need a chance to sit back and relax for 3 days. Get it, man. I mean, I haven't been to an All-Star game in this league, and I've been in this league since 2013. I've never been to an All-Star game. Not because I don't want to go to an All-Star game, because I need the time to kick back. So from a front office standpoint, Rick, or pardon me, whoever had this question was Ron. From a front office standpoint, you want the time off. It's a lot of extra work because you got to sell a whole different deal separate from what you guys are doing. And that's why, so the long answer to your question is yes, it's possible. But B, I think there's probably going to be, a Conemaugh Walk would be in the mix next year, I would think. St. Paul loved doing it. That was part of their thing. They were really good at it. It'll probably be someplace like that initially. Whoever has a new ballpark, I would think Cleveland could probably be in the mix too. It's easy to get to Dallas from anywhere in the league. There's a nonstop flight everywhere except maybe Sioux City, but even Sioux City is only one stop. So I would actually take it back. You know what? You can't get from Winnipeg to Dallas. You got to fly through someplace else. So is that. It's odd because Winnipeg and Dallas play hockey back and forth all the time, and they have tons of people from Manitoba living in DFW working for the Stars. But anyway, I digress. But so yeah, Ron, good stuff there. I would tell you this though. I was thinking about this earlier. The very same question, Ron. What if? And I'll throw this out there. What if it did come here? What could it do for the ball club? And I think that's the question you meant to. The other question is, it's not if, it's if we. It's not if we do it. When we do it, what's the benefit for the ball club and what's the benefit for the area? And I think it could benefit everybody. Hey, Sioux City's a cool place to come check out. My wife will tell you that. She loves it. She's telling everybody in Dallas, you got to go to Sioux City. It's cool. The weather's good. She goes, go for the weather alone. Right now it's 130 degrees down there, and you can't even walk outside without suffocating. Here you can actually walk the dog and not pant like the dog. I mean, it's crazy. And it's warm out there today, but it's not so unbearable you're going to melt. So there's that. But my point is, what is the benefit of the ball club? Well, maybe the All-Star game comes because the league's going to want the ballpark to be a certain way. Well, maybe it does bring you an extra, a better party area, or maybe it brings you an extra suite or two, or some improvements that you need to make. Because the ballpark, I think, is very functional. I just don't know if the league's going to buy that unless there's some things that kind of help it for one. But again, it could help the ball club. So it's a really good question. A lot to talk about there. But yeah, Rick says here, so I got a glare. Oops, sorry. Yeah, I think Rick's talking about what he's saying, as I was saying about earlier. So I'm trying to get the news out. We got a lot still to get to, and I'm going to try to rush through about the next 10 minutes. But, yeah, wheels are going back on and suddenly off again. If there's one thing I've learned about this league and about this organization, and again, you're getting someone that's watched it from afar. They've had hard times before where it looked like things weren't going good, and they wind up doing what they do. I'm never going to count Steve Montgomery out of what he's doing. And we're not at the 50-game mark yet either. We still got 53 games left. A lot of baseball left. I mean, that's another 15 out of 20 you win, and suddenly you're firmly in a position for a postseason spot. And again, like I mentioned yesterday, and Rick, I think, may have heard this in the broadcast, you get to September and you're relatively healthy, toss the record out the window. I mean, if Kansas City gets there and they have the best record, which they probably will, and we wind up playing in the postseason, but they've got injury issues because they wore everybody down and we're getting healthy, I take my chances. I take my chances there. You know, if let's just say, for example, Mitchell Verberg's shut down for part of the summer, but he comes back. It's not it's one of those deals that needs a rest. Would you take Mitchell Verberg for 3 or 4 innings in a stretch for the postseason? Absolutely, you would. You can see anything they've got across the way. So my point is, getting to the postseason, and getting to the postseason as healthy as possible will be big. As I go back to 19th season, when Sioux City was the wild card and clinched in Kansas City, and then beat Kansas City, who had the better record, because Kansas City, quite frankly, was running out of bodies. They had a catcher who had a broken hand who was actually catching the ball and throwing it back with his left hand. He couldn't throw it with his right hand. That was going on. So, again, all right, what else we got here? Guys are watching The Office. Hello, Office. By the way, tip of the cap to not only Molly going down to Lincoln, but also to Sam and her fine promo work. If Austin would quit playing his promo over and over again, dang it. For a while there, I thought we didn't have a Sam promo. Sam's promo was very good for this week, and so is Austin's. Both very good work. Appreciate you guys helping out the broadcast. That's teamwork right there. But Austin doing great work with the promo, and Sam jumping in and doing a quick promo for us as well. Okay, what else is going on? Well, we've got out that sort of track of injury. I went through the numbers yesterday. You guys heard it in the broadcast, may not have, but just let me refresh them. Against Lincoln, who you're going to lose the season series against, you out-hit them. Pitching was pretty even until yesterday. The walks, you actually walked more than they did as an offense, and they third in the league in walks. You just toss it up to a bad matchup. That's all I can tell you, because I couldn't find a number in there. The home run numbers were even. I couldn't find anything that really stood out to me. And you got 4 more games against them. Yes, you won't win the series, but you could also separate yourself from them, and there's that. Or catch them. There's that. You got to finish ahead of them, though, so there's that. A lot of there's that's here. All right, we're from Hawks here in Sergeant Bluff. Good cold brew on a Monday. Holiday edition, going to be a great night at the ballpark. I'll get there in a moment. Coming up 2:15 today, the All-Star announcement's coming up. I believe the league's got that on their Facebook channel. Stand by. We'll have that tonight on the pregame as well. We'll discuss that on our American Association report. We'll just cover the entire All-Star rosters. They will come out today. Also this afternoon, I expect, if I'm not mistaken my timeline, there'll be the last man in voting as well. And that usually is, 4 names from each. Sorry, I got some here. 4 names from the East and 4 from the West, and fans will vote that person in. Don't know if that's something you'll be interested in or not. You might be. If you're not, just to stand by for that. I expect probably a minimum of. I'd be shocked if there's not more than. Put it this way, I'd be shocked if there's more than 5. But I wouldn't be surprised if the X's just had 1 or 2. These things are really out of our control because the voting was done by the media, the GMs, and the coach and the manager. But the reserves are picked by the coaches, and that would be Chris Coast and Anthony Barone for the East. Well, Chris, normally when you're in that situation, you're going to pick more of your own guys. It's also easier to get them there and you know them, right? I know Joe Capietro last year when he was doing it, he tried his hardest to not pick as many of his guys. He did pick a couple, and he did. It's a natural thing. It happens. We were hosting the All-Star game, or if Steve was the manager of the All-Star game, you'd be – but that's kind of that range. I would say 2 to 5, somewhere in there would be the thing. Also expect an announcement coming up this afternoon, too, that will be of interest as well from the roster. It won't be not a transaction, but I would stay tuned for that. A very busy American Association report tonight at about 5:45, something like that on the. I'm sorry, 6:45. Yeah, 6:45 on the radio side tonight. It's nights like this. I wish the show was going to be later because there's a lot of stuff coming up that some of it I know, some of it I don't know, that I just can't. Got to tap the brakes on. So stand by for a lot of that. check our social channels and all and that. But Monday is Player of the Week day. We didn't get a pitcher this week, I can tell you that. So there's that break. But you never know what else. Also, the other piece of the puzzle is go back to the roster again. Mongo told me today that depending on what the situation is with the meeting with the players, meeting with Bruce Fishback, and any doctor visits, the roster could see some flux. Remember, Steve told us on Friday he's got 24 players or whatever it was, and he's got all these bodies he wants to activate, and he had a real tough decisions to make. Well, it looks like those decisions have been made for them. Because I would imagine you'll see, I saw Tyler Rando yesterday. I'd imagine you'll see him this week. I imagine you'll also see Cal Kasser as well. I think you'll see both those guys this week. And I would think that it could be an even 2 on the disabled, 2 off. Now, Weatherby wasn't on the disabled list, but on the injured list, but I could see him going on there. So, I mean, that's sort of where we sit right now as far as, and all that also depends on the roster makeup, but that's sort of where we're at. So a lot of little things you see stacked up on our desk here to get to this afternoon. And I'm going to step aside here. Last call for questions and comments. What did I miss here? Let's see here. I don't miss anything. I'll give you guys a chance. If you want to ask me anything, ask me away. I was actually brought into a chat yesterday on the way back to the Kansas City folks who were asking about what happens when a player, and this doesn't affect us today necessarily, what happens when a player's traded? Who fits the bill? And it's pretty interesting because there is a protocol. We trade player A to team, whatever, C. The new team pays the freight. Now, if it's a one-way deal, now if it's a back and forth, we ship our guy, we ship their guy here, we ship our new guy here from their team, and they do the same thing. There's a few times it's a little different. For example, a couple of years ago, I was in Gary, there was a trade made, and the players were joining a team that was coming into Sioux Falls the next day. So basically, I got them a hotel room for the next night as a team was a getaway day on a Sunday. The team, Laredo, reimbursed us later before they got in trouble with the IRS. And this is 2015, I believe, 15. And Laredo reimbursed us for that. And when they came in, those guys didn't travel. They just were there. But those are those rare cases. There's questions like that. I'm always here to answer those questions that come up. And those, because that's an interesting one. What happens when we trade a player? What happens? Or we get a trade? If you make a blockbuster, what happens and how does that work? If a kid is driving in, you get so much per mile for gas, things like that. But yeah, that was a really good question they asked. They messaged me and said, "Hey, could you join our chat real quick because we got to answer this question." They're debating about. I guess they made a trade with somebody and who pays the bill. I get it. Last call here. Hope to see you. Yeah, Rick, I'll be out there tonight. You gonna be out there, Rick? Rick, by the way, you did a great job. That's an easy trip, though, right? Rick, you're also smart. You're missing the Canada trip, you lucky dog, you. I shouldn't say that, but I've had some wheels-off moments going to Canada. I mean, there's been more stories in this league about the experience in Winnipeg, just in general, from things like lack of Ubers, lack of taxis, folks doing drugs in the bus stop in the morning when I'm walking, things like there's been some wheels off moments I've told in the air over the years. And some great times too. They've been great city, but the year that there's in my book one day, there'll be a story about me driving over some players from Latin America personally because they couldn't get over on the bus, but good old DB got them across in the car and no questions asked. So there's that. But anyway, yep. Last call. I'm at Hawks. You should come down here too. I'm telling you, we are very fortunate in this city to have Hawks in this part of town. I've come, granted, I do my daily in the off season. I call it the Buck Showalter Starbucks because Buck Showalter, the manager of the Mets, is in our neighborhood in the off season. I'll see him come trucking in there once in a blue moon. He and his wife will come in there if they've been doing their morning walk or workout or whatever. He'll come in there and grabbing Starbucks. And I've had had some random conversations with Buck Showalter over the years. But outside of that, you're not going to see Buck Showalter here, but you'll see me here. And here's the deal. You come here, you might see Solomon Bates walk in the door. Yeah. And he'll chat and have a good old chat with you and all that. So you never know you're going to see here. This is a great area. I'm beginning to realize that Sioux City's blessed with a lot of really cool local places. Last night I went to one of our sponsors, the Wheelhouse. I'd been there already, but we went there last night and really enjoyed that scene. I'm thinking that's a place I'd want to watch some football at. That's a place I'd sit there all day. Literally would get a couch in that place. I even told the guys, look, you get me a couch, I'd never leave this place. We're blessed with a lot of really cool places. And I was talking this morning about earlier, somebody's telling about other places locally and just all the options we have. And, the chains are good, but the locals are even better. And that's what I want to do, is support those folks. All right. Appreciate you joining me. Tomorrow, hope to have highlights for you. We will have a show. I believe we'll be at the ballpark tomorrow in lieu of being here because it's 4th of July. Don't forget tonight. There's still tickets available. Not a lot, but you better get out there and check them out. They're at the windows now. And I got a great idea for you too this week. Maybe you kind of put off going out. Maybe you've got a group of folks you think, you know what? I think a good idea is to pool your money together, get your luxury suite. I think that'd be a great idea. Get out there. You can hang out close to us. Austin to come by and make sure you're okay. I'll send him over there personally to make sure you're okay. If not, you can see Austin at the front gate, as he told us in the broadcast yesterday too. It was funny. I loved it. I got a nice little chuckle. And I'm listening to his thing in the post game, doing a great job for us. And Austin's like, yeah, come by and say hi to me tomorrow at the gate. Okay. You better say hi to Austin. He's a good kid. Say hi to Austin. Come upstairs and get a suite and say hi to me. Yeah, I'm the guy walking around with the cap on. That's me, the big guy. Anyway, but get the suite. Give those folks a call. I think it's a great idea. And I was actually in there the other day when Fox Radio was there and Connor was there. And I'm thinking, looking around, going, these are pretty cool. I didn't realize how cool they were. The air is blowing in there and all that. Anyway. Shine will get you sorted with a really good catered situation. She does great work. She was out there last night, as a matter of fact, doing her thing. She was out there last night at 8 o'clock getting ready for today. So big night tonight, big night tomorrow. Fireworks, Lannis are partners with those. Now, don't forget, one more little tidbit, too. Tonight, we're wearing military jerseys. Tomorrow, the red, white, and blue, which I saw those last night in the lockers. They look good. Those will be auctioned off after the game tomorrow, or they'll be auctioned off during the game tomorrow, and you'll get those after the game tomorrow. The military jerseys, those won't go on until the last Sunday we play at home, which is in August. That date. Look at your pocket schedule. Last Sunday we're home. That's when those go on the auction. There's no auction tonight. The auction is tomorrow, and that's for the Stars and Stripes, the 4th of July jersey. The X's will wear tomorrow. So, a lot to get to, a lot going on. We got a lot of moving parts. We got to get to it. I got to jump on them right now. I got releases to do. Let's get on it. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for being a part of our baseball family. Thanks for joining us here on Facebook Live. Show's going to grow and grow and grow. Get some guests on and things like that. What's going to be good, too, in the offseason, we'll be talking X's baseball all the time in the offseason because the miracle of the internet means we can talk to Mongo in Florida one week. We can talk to, Tom up in Sioux City. We can go out on the West Coast maybe and visit with Gherkin. We can do some things. Maybe do it in Australia. How about that? Let's see here. Boom, confirmed. What this is, some nonsense. All right, well, I'll let you guys go. I know what that is, but all good. Okay, kaboom tonight. Kaboom, boom, boom, boom. Fireworks tonight. Let's do some Go X's. You guys ready? I'm ready. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Go X's. I'll see you in the broadcast tonight. That will be at 6:35 the pregame, 7:05 the first pitch. And Colette, good to see you as well. And glad your A's are doing better as well. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, Colette. Appreciate you so much. Thank you. We'll see you tonight in the broadcast.